Hello. Hello. My name is Lachlan, and I'll be analyzing the steps during my process of generating and evaluating my solution I've created for a problem in the medical field within the hospital context based on the EDGE process. I will give a breakdown of the required task, present a technical proposal, and will evaluate myself based on the prescribed and self-determined criteria. Throughout our hospitals in Australia, there are numerous different problems staff face in their workplace on a daily basis. Most of these problems range from communicational problems to data storing problems which could cause major issues. As a digital solutions student, I have devised a reimagined wearable technological solution using the 4 phases: explore, develop, generate, and evaluate, ultimately composing several ideas into one viable solution. The problem I've attempted to solve is the issue of ineffective heart rate monitors. This is a detrimental issue within our hospitals because if staff measure this inaccurately, it causes other long-term impacts for all. I composed a wearable solution for all patients. This device is somewhat similar to a smartwatch. However, it does not have the same ability as a watch. This small wristband will be worn by all long-staying patients, allowing them to be completely hooked up to wires as they usually are. To not be hooked up to wires as they usually were. This will also allow patients to be able to not be restricted to their bed while the heart rate monitor is detecting their pulse measurements and would ultimately require less involvement by staff. Throughout the explore phase, I devised a number of different problems faced by doctors and nurses in our hospitals and the needs and wants of Vincent, a doctor in the emergency department, and Tammy, a second degree nursing student. These needs and wants include ineffectiveness in communication, which is a common problem faced equally, nurses' inability to attend to each patient, a minimum number of nurses at any given time taken when assessing patients' hospital records, and issues with dementia patients and ineffective heart rate and breath rate monitors. I have found that currently there are a number of numerous solutions to varying problems faced in our hospitals. Problems such as communication have been solved due to the drastic advancement in technology such as telecommunication. Another solution that has been solved is many hospitals have already found solutions to managing the vast amounts of patient-related data there is in a healthcare system. The solution hospitals have been using is storing all data in a cloud-based system and mobile portals to make it simple for healthcare professionals to easily access patient health data, which can include registrations, medical history, diagnoses, appointments. Lastly, the use of technology in hospitals has already significantly decreased the amount of pain patients suffer during treatment, all due to the research and advancements of technology within the last 50 years. Most treatments now have become far less invasive. Therefore, the recovery for patients is a lot quicker. The rapid advancements in technology have made the detection of most diseases be done much earlier. Therefore, treatments can be given to patients earlier to prevent these diseases. Following the explore phase, I developed numerous solutions for my chosen problem. After analyzing the similarities, differences, and patterns, it became easy to design a viable solution. Both nurses and doctors experience similar issues within the hospitals, which include ineffective use of communication, the effective ability to identify where patients are at all times. However, the differences of which nurses and doctors face include the need of capability to know when patients ring the buzzer and other data-related issues. From this, the patterns of both nurses and doctors that I have recognized include alternative ways to communicate between patients and staff, and the use of heart rate and breath rate monitors for all patients. Therefore, I designed varying solutions to solve the issue of ineffective heart rate measurements. Firstly, I designed a small machine that would be placed beside each bed. This device would have the heart rate sensor inside of it for when a patient wanted to check the heart rate without the help from a doctor who may be busy. If there was something wrong with the patient, and something they were concerned about, They could ring the buzzer immediately to get assistance from a nurse. However, due to the fact that this was not always detecting a pulse and detecting their measurements, the solution would not have been viable. To fix this, I tweaked the solution to be more portable. Instead of having a device that would require hand-on activity, I took inspiration from various other technologies such as smartwatches, which embed a heart rate sensor in them. I developed a small wristband that would be worn by all patients, which would display the heart rate measurement transmitted onto a screen for all to be seen. This would take a little effort for the user, as it would always be measuring the patient's pulse rate, as long as the sensor couldn't detect a pulse. This would make the problem much easier for both doctors and the patient, as it would not need to be manually measured as it used to be. Throughout developing my solution, I've explored the user interface and developed how well the user will be able to interact with this technology. As you can see, there are only three main parts to my solution. The most important part, the pulse sensor, can be seen here. Within this device is the pulse sensor, which is always detecting a pulse unless it is switched off or is unable to detect anything. It takes little effort for any user as the detection and measurements are all done automatically. Also seen is a signaler. This part is currently not included in the prototype. However, once complete, the pulse measurements will be signaled to a nearby monitor to display the heart rate. This is also done automatically, so no input is needed from any of its users. Lastly, the adjustable strap is included to allow for the sensor to be always detecting. This requires no wiring or any other form of technology to maintain a detection, allowing no requirement from users. In order to generate my solution, I had to identify the user experience and how effectively it would achieve my goal. There are a number of different issues within our hospitals. Therefore, the use of this design may solve each user issue. A common user issue is that nurses can look after 6 patients at a time, resulting in the patients not being always attended to. Before, heart rate monitors required well-trained staff to function the heart rate monitor. The design of a small, easy-to-use wristband would solve this, as the process is completely automatic. Sometimes staff may be too busy to function the heart rate monitor, which results in valuable time lost. Therefore, this device will take minimum operating. This also solves the issue of the heart rate monitor, that the heart rate monitor is not always accurate. As I said before, sometimes all the wires would be too complicated, resulting in inaccurate measurements. Now, it is all restricted into one small device that would detect accurate heart rate measurements. As of now, I do not have a completed prototype of my design. However, this image represents what the prototype would have looked like. In order for this design to successfully function, I devised coding and presented it through my various steps and the decision to correspond to the actions I've coded. As you can see, the process is as follows. Firstly, the pulse sensor will always sense a measurement. This is because of the design of the wristband. It is always to be on the patient. Therefore, the only time the sensor would not measure a pulse is if the sensor was out of range of any detection or was turned off. If the sensor doesn't measure anything, the process will repeatedly occur until there is a pulse measured. Once there is a pulse measured, the device will measure at what rate the pulse is beating. If false, or if this doesn't occur, then it will repeat the previous step. Once there is a pulse measured, then it will display the pulse on an LED. The LED is on the device to show at what rate the heart is beating. This measurement will be signaled to be projected on the screen somewhere else in the room. This is the complete process of my design through my pseudocode. The idea that I've created does effectively solve the issue in our problems of inaccurate heart rate measurements. Although this design has not been completely successful in advancing the accuracy of this technology, it has efficiently solved numerous related issues. I've evaluated the project against the prescribed criteria. Evaluations and recommendations are shown on this slide. This slide presents the evaluation against my self-determined criteria. Thank you for listening.